welcome to Katrina's Creations. Today is going to be a tutorial for the basic stitch for Tunisian crochet. I have made a dishcloth out of it. Now I will be honest with you, the basic stitch for Tunisian crochet does tend to curl a bit. I actually made an entire like poncho thing out of it a couple years ago, and it's sitting in the tub of shame upstairs. The tub of shame is a Rubbermaid tub stuffed full of projects that I haven't had the nerve to rip apart yet, but really need to do so. So yes, that's the tub of shame. But anyway, I love the stitch that it does make. It kind of ends up looking knitted, but it is crocheted. The yarn that I am going to be using for this is Comfy Cotton Blend by Lion Brand. You can use Lily Sugar and Cream. I have used it to make dishcloths before, but to be honest, it doesn't hold the color real well, and I've just found that after a few washings they look faded, and now they've turned to various shades of gray and they just look dingy. I've tried this in other colors before, and this particular brand, at least in my experience, has held the color relatively well. So that's what I'm going to be using, but you can use any yarn that is a, in this case, this is, I believe, a 4-weight. If it's a 3-weight, it's a heavier 3-weight. It looks more like a 4-weight. But you can use any 4-weight cotton to make this. The hook that I am using, there are different types of Tunisian crochet hooks. This is the long version, and one end of it is a crochet hook, and then this end of it has a bead on the end, and this particular one is a 5.5 millimeter. The other type of Tunisian crochet hook, which actually is a little less cumbersome, I am finding this a little awkward to work with just because of the length, but the other type you can get is a cable Tunisian crochet hook, which looks like a standard length crochet hook with a like a cord hooked to it, like you would see with the circular needles for knitting. It's that type of a cord, and then it has a bead on the end of the cord. So they come in two different types. They come in metal, they come in wood. I tend to like my hooks to be metal, and I like my knitting needles to be metal as well. So let's get started, and we'll get this tutorial on the roll. So let me get the camera turned around and we'll get started. All right, the first thing that you are going to do is just make a slip knot with enough of a tail to weave in at the end. Now again, I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook, and I am going to chain 30 is what I found worked well for this size, which is roughly 7 inch by 7 inch. So you're going to chain 30. Like I said, this is a little awkward compared to a shorter hook. You don't want to make these chains too awfully tight. All right, I have 30. Now you are going to chain 1 up. You only are going to do this on the very first row. Chain 1 up, and then you're going to go into the stitch that is the second from the hook. So not this one, you're going to go into this one, yarn over, and pull it up, and so now you have 2 stitches. You're going to go into the next stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, and you have 3, and you're going to go all the way across until you have 30 loops on your hook. All right, I have 30 loops loaded onto my hook. I'm now going to yarn over and pull through the first loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and I'm going to continue yarning over and pulling through 2 until I get all the way to the end. Okay, I'm coming down to the last couple of stitches. And there we are. I have completed the foundation row, or the first row. Now, I'm going to hold this up so you can kind of see. You can see these lines that run through here, and then your yarn basically threads between these lines. These almost act like the front posts of crochet, and I'll explain what I mean when we go to the second row and every row afterwards. Once you've completed that foundation row, this first little line here, this is stitch 1, so you already have 1 loop for the first post. But you can see how I have these other posts running up here. You're going to insert your hook right behind it, just like you would if you were doing a front post crochet. You're going to grab the yarn, pull it through, and there's your second. You can see it's directly over top of this other vertical stitch. So you're going to go in through that front of the post. You're going in through the back of that post, yarn over, and pull it through. And you can see that they are stacking directly above the post from the row before. So you're going to go all the way across, just loading your hook. When you get to the end, again, you want to count to make sure that you have 30 loops onto your hook. So you can pause the video and go the rest of the way across. I am at my last post, and I'm going to go through it here, load it onto my hook, count to make sure I have 30 stitches, and now I'm going to take these loops off of my hook the same way I did on the row before. So you do the first one through a single loop, and then after that you yarn over and go through 2 at a time all the way across until the loops are all back off again. The interesting thing with Tunisian crochet, if you haven't realized already, you're never working on the wrong side. You are always working from the front. You are loading the loops on and then taking them back off again. So let me show you. I'll stop this for a minute. I'll show you what the back of this looks like. So here's what your front looks like. And you can block this so it's not going to roll, but this is a dishcloth, so I'm not too worried about it. But that's the front of it. And here is what the back looks like. So let me hold this up closer so you can see it up. So that's what your back is going to look like. Like I said, you're never working from the back. You're constantly just working from the front. So I'm going to finish taking off all of the loops, going around, and this will complete row 2. And row 2 is the repeat for the rest of the dishcloth. All right, I am at the last stitch here. Oops, there we go. So there is my completion of row number 2. Now it looks a little empty in here, but once you go through the next row, it will fill in the empty space here. It's like pulling up the loops creates the tunnel, and then going through them, through those front posts, fills it in so that it looks solid like it does here. So you can see there's your front posts, and this is what fills in from your when you go in through that front post. So from here on out until you get to the very last row of your dishcloth, you are going to be doing the same thing that we did with row 2. So again, this is going to count as your first post. So you can see it's directly above that post. So you don't do any chain 1 or anything. You've already got it on there. And then you're going to go into the next front post and pull it up and work your way across just like you did row 2. You can pause the video and come back when your dishcloth is completely square. So whenever you have reached however many rows it takes until you reach the same height as width, so that you have a square shaped dishcloth, unless you want a rectangle shaped dishcloth. But for the most part, we're aiming for square ones. So pause the video and complete however many rows it takes you based on your gauge to have a square dishcloth. And then I'll show you how to do that final row. And we will do that part together and take the stitches back off again. I've now finished the last row, and I'm going to show you how to end this. Now I could just tie off this loop and call it done. However, if you look closely, you can see that there is a gap right along here because you haven't gone through and filled this one back through again. So it looks like it's unfinished. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's very simple. So here's your first stitch. You're going to go through here like you have in the past. Grab that yarn and pull it through both. You're going to go through the next stitch, pull it through, and pull it through both. You're basically doing a chain stitch at the top. So you're going to, again, pulling it through that front post, yarn over, and bringing it through both. I'll do a couple more here so you can see what the finished edge now looks like by doing it this way. I do find the length of this kind of cumbersome, especially if I'm doing it against a table like this. So if you hear the tapping, that's what that is. When I'm holding it in my lap, it's not as much of a problem. So now let's look and see what that final edge looks like. So by doing this, you've now filled in that edge, so it looks more finished. And you're just going to continue going all the way across until you reach that last loop right here. So here we are to that last stitch, and you're just going to go in, pull it straight through, you're going to give it a little twist, clip the end of your yarn, pull it through, pull it tight. That forms a knot right there, and then you can just weave in your ends and you are ready to use it. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. That's always appreciated, and I will see you again on Saturday for our regular weekly video. Thanks for watching.